Welcome to The Better Life with Dr. Mariane Pinkston. Join Dr. Pinkston today as she teaches you how an integrative approach to health, combining holistic and contemporary medical information, can lead you to the better life. And now, here's your host, Dr. Mariane Pinkston.
Hello, good morning, everybody. This is Dr. Mariane Pinkston with The Better Life with Dr. Pinkston. And today I have the distinct honor of having probably my biggest mentor that if you look at my integrative health history and medical education history, James LaValle is the person that probably has changed my life and your life. If you're one of my patients, he's changed your life as well. And I have the distinct honor of having him on today. And just to give, it'd take all 27 minutes for me to go through his CV and accomplishments, but I'm going to hit just a few highlights so that you know who we're talking about. And I'm sure everybody knows anyway. But James LaValle has over 35 years of clinical nutrition. You're a certified clinical nutritionist, also a clinical pharmacist, and you have worked in the integrative field with the American Academy of Anti-Aging and Medicine, A4M, which is where I met you. But you have also worked with the collegiate athletes and Olympians and with the NFL, NBA, MLB. You've worked with Lifetime Fitness and, have published over 20 books, have done many TV appearances. Like I said, it would take me 27 minutes to go through your CV. I am so glad to have you on. Jim, thank you for being on today.
You kind of wore me out there on the introduction. I was like, wow, I really have done all that over the last, 38 years now. So, yeah.
Exactly. Well, you have.
Thanks for having me on. I mean, you know what? There's nothing more, I guess, satisfying than if you're teaching to have students surpass what you've taught. And, you have really reached out, and I know how passionate you are about helping others. And, that's why I teach. And so, it's my pleasure. I'm excited about being here.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, you really have. I remember sitting in, one of my first A4M conferences and, learning so much about hormones and all. But when we got into what's going to be our topic today with metainflammation and anti-aging, and I started to learn about, how our bodies react down to a cellular level to control our, our aging and how we feel down to that level, it is absolutely amazing how much we are affected by diet and whatnot. And I was sitting in front of you 300 pounds at one point and decided to take some of your teachings and those through A4M and changed my life 5 years ago, lost that 162 pounds and, have really gone into this deeply to try to help, people, especially here in San Antonio. Obesity is rampant. And, people are looking for a quick fix and a magic wand and a magic pill or a magic supplement diet. And it's just not that simple. Now, for 13 years that I spent 300 pounds, I was looking for the same thing. So when I met you at A4M and everybody there, it finally came to me, even as a doctor, it finally came to me to understand that there is so much more to this. And I know people are looking for that route. Now, you created something called the Metabolic Code, which is a cloud-based platform. It's a great roadmap where, patients can go and get their labs done. They can, give their health history and information, and they can develop a process and a roadmap that is personalized, very precise for them to follow to change their life, which is what I wound up doing. So this is something you developed. How long ago did you develop this? How long have you been working on this?
Well, I wrote the Metabolic Code in 2002, and it took me 3 times of rewriting it for it to publish in 2002, and it was a 600-page book. So I've been at this this concept of, your metabolism is more than how much you weigh. Mm-hmm. Your metabolism is all of the interactions going on in your body, making inflammatory compounds, regulating your blood sugar, making enough sex hormones, responding to stress appropriately, keeping inflammation in its homeostasis or imbalance. Right. All those things are going on. And so, I was kind of onto that in the mid 80s, and then, was seeing 300 to 400 patients a week in our institute in Cincinnati, Ohio. So I kept like a good, I would say, bricklayer. I just kept repeating the same stories over and over again. And finally these patterns emerged. And I had to get those patterns down into a computation. Like, how can I take somebody's labs and how they're feeling and their blood pressure and their heart rate and their body weight, and where does it lead me to tell them where to start?
Right.
And, this whole concept is, it's about what's called metainflammation. So, metainflammation is a term that's in the medical literature. And basically what it's saying is, how metabolically inflamed you are will dictate the rate of your aging. And I know all of us are going to live to 120 tomorrow because of the magic spermidine or the magic goji berries or whatever it is that's out there. But I got to tell you what's not going on.
Yeah.
Because, and I love that you took up that yoke and said, I'm going to change my life. Because in the end, whether you're a doctor, an electrician, a housewife, a lawyer, I don't care who you are.
Right.
In the end, you've got to make a decision. And I always tell people it's work, but it's worth it.
Yes.
If you want to feel good.
Yes.
It's work. It is work.
It is work.
And I'm like in my personal practice, I'm their biggest cheerleader. I'm going to be there for you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I just want people to get to 80 and not have the complications of heart disease and diabetes and autoimmune disease.
Sure.
That's the first goal for us, right? 50% of the US population is either diabetic or pre-diabetic.
Yes.
Is
it just 50%? Because here in San Antonio, the data's skewed. I would say it's 90% here.
Wow.
I would say
it's a big deal. And I don't think I've lived with diabetes in my family. My grandmother was a fingerless, toeless, blind diabetic that had to feel my face to see how I grew when I went to see her once a year.
Right.
As a very small child, that was pretty dang scary.
Exactly.
And my father came to live with me when he was 78 years old after having a Whipple surgery, which is the most intense surgery you can have.
Right.
Because he had a duodenal adenocarcinoma because he was a person with diabetes.
Yeah.
And people don't realize your increased risk of heart disease, cancer, losing your eyesight, amputation. There's so many things that put you at risk. And if anything showed us in the last couple of years, metabolic inflammation leads to a weakened immune system is going to make you prone to what happened in these last 3 years that we all suffered from.
Exactly. Yes.
So anyway, it's so important for people to understand you really are empowered. You can do a lot of powerful things by changing your diet, get moving a little bit, learn about your health. In the end, I guess I'm brutally honest with people. I always say, you know what? Nobody's going to care about your health more than you are.
Right.
And, in the office, if you're working in an office and God forbid you had something happen and you passed away, everybody'd be really sad for about a week and then they'd replace your chair.
That's right. That's right.
And so I know that sounds callous, but
it's true. But it's true. And you discussed the work that it takes, and it does take work. I've never worked harder at anything. I'm a doctor, I'm a mom, I wear 1,000 hats. I never worked harder at anything than I did losing weight. And it took me a good, 1 year to get a full amount of the weight off, but it took me a whole other year after that just to straighten out all of the mess that was created. It was not an easy task. And many of my patients are like, well, I want to try that supplement. Maybe, they're sitting there 60 to 100 pounds overweight. And I'm like, well, Doc, what do you think about that supplement? Or, I've got a wedding in 2 months. My daughter's wedding in 2 months. I got to drop 60 pounds and
be in that dress.
It's exactly. People don't realize that it really takes an inordinate amount of time and ability and work to get that done. So what do you think is the magic? Because I know when it came to me, I had to just come to a decision. I finally just got tired of it. I just got to a place where I was just finally exhausted and tired of it.
Tired of being tired.
Right? And what pushes people to finally reach that point? Because we feel good for many, many years while all of this underneath is happening, and we don't realize, we're too tired to exercise, we're too tired to eat right, don't have enough money. All the excuses we create for ourselves. So what pushes people to finally make up their mind and cross that bridge? It's a good question.
But pre-COVID, awesome question, actually, because I think there's not one simple answer.
No.
I think for one, people wake up and get scared.
Yeah.
When you get, and so look, for me, I was very fortunate. I got great mentors. I kind of got myself in a bad place by age 20, went to a doctor who did this kind of work by age 21. By the time I got out of school, I was ready to jump into this. And so I had a different story, but the same thing that drove me is what drives most people.
Right.
I didn't feel good. I look great.
Yeah.
I mean, and everybody goes for me, oh, it's easy for you. Look at you. You're athletic. No. Well, guess what? My whole family's obese. I got all the obesity genes. I got all the heart disease genes. I got all the diabetes genes. All my family's diabetic. So, you know, so it is typically, it is out of being scared.
Right.
And I think, okay, that's a pretty good motivator, because you get scared typically because, wait a second, I'm not going to see my grandkids.
Right.
Or I'm not going to see my kids. And that, you know, and of course that should be important.
Absolutely.
And, you know, it's so important. And then I think the other one now is people have a real interest in longevity. Like the notion of, I want to live as long as I can, as healthy as I can.
Right.
And I know for me, that hits because, you know, I turned 62 this year. And, you know, when you start getting into your 60s, and it starts getting very real, because, you know, I have a little saying I always live by, you know, even Da Vinci died. So it's like, you know, even the greatest minds of the world, the most talented people, we pass on and, you know, go to our creator, and that's beautiful, right? That's our journey. Right. Let's serve, let's love each other, let's help, let's make a difference in the world, and let's go on, right? But the point being is, I think people are really genuinely interested. What I worry about is that they start to think there's miracles that are going to get them there. Right. And I really think that until you ground yourself in, I need to create a lifestyle that promotes my health.
Right.
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 That's what you did. You decided that when you woke up every day, you were going to take actions that gave you power, that made you feel better.
Even when I didn't feel good. Even when
you didn't feel good, right? I mean, when your joints hurt, you're tired, your brain's foggy, you're not sleeping as good as you could. You wake up in the morning and your hips ache. I mean, I get it.
Right.
So I think that there's Spartans, and I have to say, and I always say this, there's Spartans. And what I mean by a Spartan is, if I came to you, Dr. Pinkston, and you told me, Jim, here are the 9 things I need you to do. Mm-hmm. I would sit in front of you and say, what do you mean? You don't have 12? Right?
You're right.
I'd be like, hey, man, I can do 12.
Yeah.
I can do 12, no problem. I mean, I'm after this, right?
Yes.
So there's Spartans that will do it. And sometimes they do it to the point of what I call neuroses. Like they get ate up over doing everything perfect, which I think is, whoa, don't do that. We're supposed to enjoy life. Joy, celebration, right? Still.
Yes.
But most people need to try to make actionable change that they can incorporate into their life.
Right.
And I think the sicker you are, the more steps you can take on too, right? Like I'm very motivated because I've got rheumatoid arthritis and I can barely move, and these drugs aren't working for me, or what can I do now, right? So I think the motivation escalates for most people based on how bad they feel.
Absolutely. And they do feel bad. But many people now just turn to the internet and they just try to pick up a quick fix, the latest diet, the latest pill. So they do have an alternative though. And I think that is where something like the Metabolic Code comes in order to guide them on the right path. May not be the same path for everybody. So it needs to be, it needs to be personalized. But they do need guidance. I could not have done all of that alone, even with all I know and with everything, all the people and support that I have around me and what I know. So I know that people who didn't go to medical school and don't have a Jim LaValle in their life need to be able to get their Jim LaValle in their life. They can go to Metabolic Code and get that done.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, I think you're right on about it. I mean, in the end, who do you believe? I mean, I think I used to get angry about that because there's so many internet pundits or biohackers, and it used to make me angry. And then I just thought through it. It's like, it's a part of the journey. If they can take that first step on their quest,
right,
and then they start to look for, I always say the people that are really out there don't have time to do blogs and not a podcast. Podcasts are valuable. I mean, I've done podcasts with brilliant people, and you can effectively get the information out. But the people that are like posting 3 hours a day,
right,
you got to go in clinic. You got to see people.
Right.
You don't have 3 hours a day to just sit there and write about stuff. And hey, I read this paper, and therefore this paper's true, and everybody should do this.
Yeah.
You got to get grounded in actionable things. And I mean, I'm a huge fan of disseminating information out there to folks. I do think that they need to look for healthcare providers, doctors. I think pharmacists play a supportive role. Obviously, I'm a clinical pharmacist. Yes. I'm a big believer in it. I taught in medical school, taught in pharmacy school, taught nutrition classes. I mean, I'm all about that. Dietitians have value. Nurse practitioners have value. We can all play a role. But I do think you kind of need to start with somebody that's had a little bit of training, because they're going to have their eyebrow up at that, those weird labs that come in that, if you have somebody that's not educated, you can miss something.
You sure can. Absolutely. And that is what I've learned a tremendous amount through you and through A4M is how to look at those labs. And I don't do just the simple, Framingham lipid panel and, regular, I do the comprehensive metabolic, not just the basic metabolic and a CBC. That's about all and a TSH. And that's all I see, many physicians do. And there is so much information that you can find in somebody by just doing a very good and extensive amount of, lab work plus a physical exam and get their good history. And then you can really take people a long way. Too bad we don't really, have the time due to insurances and things like that. We don't really have the time to spend with people. But, you come back. We can't do it all in one visit. But you come back and we can, go over it in pieces because there's so much information anyway. I think people will get really discouraged. And we're going to have to take a break in just a minute. But when we come back, I want to talk about Metabolic Code and how people can get to that and what that will bring to their lives and how they can make a start. Because I think that's what today should be about is how people can just make that decision and take one step at least, just one step to get where they need to go. And so I'm going to have all this information before we break. You can go to drpbetterlife.com. And all of this information is going to be there when this airs. And I will have all of Jim LaValle's information, metaboliccode.com, and all this information for people to access because you can do this. And you can work with me, you can work with Jim, you can work with great people, and we'll get that done. So we're going to take a short break, come back on the other side. We'll discuss it.
Fatty liver is linked to two different situations, alcohol and diabetes or obesity. In both cases, patients can have no symptoms. In the United States, and in particular, Texas, the most common cause of liver disease in general is non-alcoholic fatty liver. Again, associated with overweight, obesity, and or diabetes. Additional risk factors include high cholesterol, high blood pressure, Hispanic ethnicity, and postmenopausal status. At Pinnacle Clinical Research, we offer a quick, non-invasive ultrasound-based screening assessment called FibroScan. This test is done at no cost to you, and we do not take insurance. The test will measure the fat and stiffness in your liver and stage your risk and development of fatty liver disease. You will meet with a provider immediately following your scan to go over your results. If you're interested in getting more information on your liver health, please call 210-982-0320 and schedule your FibroScan today. We are conveniently located in the Medical Center at 5109 Medical Drive.
Welcome back. I'm Dr. Mariane Pinkston here today with James LaValle, Jim LaValle, as we all know and love him, and from A4M and Metabolic Code. And we were discussing, Jim, before the break about people making that decision and just taking one step now to start to change your life because it's not going to happen overnight. You can't get all your information in one place at one sitting. So this is something you're going to study and work on and devote your life to. And I mean, you will devote your life to it, to work really hard. So how do people get started? What's the best way to go about it?
I mean, they can go to metaboliccode.com. They can find Metabolic Code practitioners listed there. I think what I like, when, obviously I'm biased, but what I liked about when we developed the Metabolic Code is that when you take your labs and you answer a very thorough questionnaire and you add your, heart rate, blood pressure, biometrics, weight, height.
Yes.
What it does is it buckets everything into 5 metabotypes. And what that's basically doing is saying, where are you the most broke? Where are your labs trending out of bounds or out of bounds? Where are the symptoms that you have really causing problems in your life? And then it allows you to say, here is where I need to start. So for example, adrenal, thyroid, pancreas is triad 1. It's where a lot of people get broken down, especially in San Antonio, because adrenal, thyroid, pancreas is about the relationship between stress hormones, blood sugar and insulin, and thyroid hormones.
Yes.
And so when those are all running together really good, you feel good, you manage your weight, your metabolism's on point. I always say it's kind of like when you see a flower bloom and you're in that moment with the flower.
Right.
That's how your body should feel.
Exactly.
You should just not be focusing on what's wrong. You should be getting on with your day of the things you want to enjoy.
Exactly.
But the issue is when we get under stress, our blood sugar goes up. And when we get under stress and our cortisol goes up and our blood sugar goes up, it turns our thyroid hormone down. And when all that happens, we store fat really good and we get sluggish and we don't think as clear. We get tired, gaining weight.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that some people can eat their way into this.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be stress. You can easily, if you're an emotional eater, and I always tell people, hey, if you're coming home at 3:00 and you're looking to hug a bag of tortilla chips, that's emotional eating.
Exactly.
It's like, and if you lick your finger to get the last bit of crumbs out of the inside of that bag.
Exactly.
Nobody's ever done that one, right? No. I know for me, I sure have done that. That is a sign that that's a stress-induced eating behavior.
Yes.
And so the whole purpose of it is what Metabolic Code does and what Metabolic Code providers can do is help you to look at where are your key areas of metabolic misinformation, or what I call metabolic roadblocks.
Yes.
What's blocking your metabolism from you feeling better?
Right.
And now you may have to clear that first area. And then after that comes the next layer of work. And I think that's what you were talking about when you said, hey, that first 6-8 months, year, I got that weight shedded off, but then I had to work on all this other stuff.
Right.
Because I always tell people, hey, if somebody's telling you in 4 weeks they can restore your health, boy, you better turn around. Because go the other way. It like I said, it's work, but it's worth it. And look, I get exposed to everything. I mean, as the academic co-chair at A4M, thousands of doctors come every year and get trained. I get exposed to everything. I see everything coming out. And in the end, yes, there are things that can help people out of acute problems. Drugs can help people out of acute problems.
Sometimes.
You got to get that prescription pad out once in a while, right? And that's good. But it really becomes, where am I broke? How do I fix it? Do I have a plan that's strategic?
Yes.
And do I follow the plan?
Right.
And I think that's what we tried to do with developing the Metabolic Code system. I mean, it's obviously a 40,000 decision algorithm. You put all this stuff in there and it's pushing to create that answer.
Yes.
And you know what? It's an evolving thing. As we learn more, we add it into this algorithm. But the bottom line is it's a roadmap. It's going to help you figure out where do I really feel bad and what do I do to fix it? And when you start feeling better, it becomes easy to make more decisions about doing things that are good for you.
It gets easier. That is a great point. It does. Starting is the hard part. Once you get involved and you start seeing the small changes, you think the end point is it. That's where it is. It's not. It's in the process, and every day is better, and you get more involved. You stop craving. You start sleeping better. Your body's changing. You're feeling better. It's a great process. You just have to get started, and the end point is not just the answer. It is definitely the process. It's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, once again, it's that journey of getting you back to where you belong.
Right.
We all deserve good health. We really do.
Yes.
And depending on where we're at, we may have to, you know, settle in and go, you know what, this is the best health I can get. Hey, my medications are no longer going up, they're going down.
Right.
Even in spite, I'm on these meds and I'm still having these difficulties. Those difficulties go away, right? So it's not all drugs are bad and only nutrients are good. It's about how do we start to look at these things and go, you know what? Let's take all of the things we know and apply them in an organized way so that you can begin to enjoy your life again.
That's
I mean, because I firmly commit to that. My, you know, kind of ethos was always that, you know, people deserve vitality at every stage in life. So I didn't care whether I was working on a 5-year-old or an 85-year-old.
Absolutely.
You know, a 5-year-old that feels bad, you know, their vitality is just as important as the 85-year-old who's just worn out. And maybe we can get them to go another 5 years or so, or 10 years, right?
Yes.
But I mean, it's every stage in life, you deserve that. So
yes, absolutely. And this is a great way to do it. So metaboliccode.com. And then I'm going to have all this information at drpbetterlife.com, which I had a great talk with your wife, Laura LaValle, who was on about a month or two ago. And we did gave some information on dietary ways of planning and whatnot. This is all great information that we can put together and definitely support and guide you. You need that support. It's not something you can just take on and do alone, and it's not a quick fix. You just take that time and get all that support. And that's what we are here to do. And I'm so glad that you invented all this and put all this together. It's a wonderful process. I've been involved for a very long time. I really, truly believe in it and definitely appreciate it. And we've got just a few minutes, Jim, or a few seconds left. Jim, what endpoint would you like to add on top, the cherry on top today for people out there?
Oh, the cherry on top is, you know what? It sounds kind of, you know, kitschy, but please try to learn now to not sweat the small stuff. I mean, really try to manage your stress, whether it's doing box breathing a couple times a day to reset your nervous system, take your walk. I took my morning walk this morning for 45 minutes, cleared my head.
Yeah.
You know, really start to adopt lifestyle choices that are going to make you feel that much better. And you can start today.
Yes. Just
with
one
the
step
simplest
at a time.
things.
Exactly.
And then build.
Yep. And that's when Jim, thank you. I truly appreciate having you on again. Maybe I'll have you on again in the future. I know we're going to be working together up in Austin with Ray Solano. And
yes, we are.
I absolutely can't wait for it. So the LaValle Performance Health Center sounds so wonderful. So we'll have more information on that as that opens next year. But again, thank you so much and have a wonderful day. And thank you for all you've done for me and my patients. And we hopefully will see you soon.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Everybody have a great week out there. Thank you.